Hello, we are once again back out there. Because why not? You know, if the sun's out, which is technically not. So I guess the metaphor doesn't apply, but today to plan, walk by National Cathedral, and then loop down into Georgetown, and we can walk by Beston's house once again. So it's a nice, easy roadmap to do. In terms of talking points for today, got a couple. One is, ideally, the sun would be out a bit more to make the camera work more suitable. But we'll go for it. Right here, messy. But what I've got, right, look at that. It's a nice little Roma tracksuit. Because apparently, of course, with the Trump administration, they changed the de minimis policy, which has completely upended the global e-commerce. Gosh, I thought that was a person. I guess that's a person. But so de minimis got taken away. So now you have to pay dues, technically, on things you get in. And the dues can be very punitive, because there's the rate set by the government, as well as the service charge the actual shipping company will take. So it gets you in a double whammy, effectively, which is not great. But apparently, as I just found out, if you do it through UPS or USPS, they won't charge you, or they won't apply the duty. So I'm not fully aware as to why that's the case. I have suspicions. Part of it is that changing de minimis is not a good idea, and it's quite shite policy, because it really doesn't make sense. And if you have to process everything to apply the duties, it just doesn't make sense given the volume of packages. So we did a little beta test. We did some investigative journalism, as I like to say. It's kind of what it is actually what we do on this channel. Kinda. Right, prediction markets. We help get closer to truth. Now, apparently, and the nice thing is, when you see someone else on prediction, especially on the illiquid prediction markets, join in on your side decisively. For example, the 3 billion song market, which songs will cross 3 billion Spotify streams by the end of the year. And so we owned Bohemian Rhapsody in size. By size, I mean $60. Frankly, again, in retrospect, should have bought way more. Of course, at a certain point, I would start moving the market. And so apparently, I didn't check Kalshi much this week because it was very busy. But apparently, now Bohemian Rhapsody is priced at 99%. And I was buying in the 70s and kept buying into the 80s. So clearly someone has also asked ChatGPT how's it going on. Now, there's two topics I want to talk about. One is small tweaks I could make to better my appearance. That's one thing. And then the second thing is my usual diet of complaining and reminiscing about various picture market and finance related things. And the first one, well, I haven't fully baked it through. So we'll start with the second one. So apparently, I've heard there's this AI startup called Mantech. And apparently it does forecasting. And apparently whereas other forecasting bots are literally just using LLMs, this one has a slightly different process where it actually takes more of a fundamental view, quote unquote. And apparently it is very good at certain competitions. So if I take it at face value that this startup is legit, and I think about the monetization opportunities for it, the only monetization opportunities that really come to light is either A, become a prop shop trading on these markets, or B, you license it out to people, right? It's not like you can have ads, a pre-roll ad program, right, for something like this. At least in my mind, that'd be fairly counterintuitive. Yeah, it's like, when will, yeah, of course, like on the website, the markets they talked about were more sciencey, which are probably the more complex ones where, like, it just ask ChatGPT thinking help get you there. It wouldn't suffice. But it would be great. It forecasts this really complex science one, like, I know back when there was that Korean rumor that they invented like self-heat transisting semiconductors or something along those lines. It's like, apparently that was a fun market because apparently some people really did take the bait and believe it, while others did not. So you can create some variance in market outcomes. But it would be great though. So you run the Mantech API, and so just as you're about to load up on some of those contracts, it hits you with a 30-second pre-roll, and then the other guy who's paying for Mantech Premium Plus, well, you're the schmuck only paying Premium, gets front run, and it's yeah, and you fill them at 99 cents. GG's, bro. And so I asked the guy, well, what happens in a year when this stuff gets rolled out to prediction markets and like more people are using them? And he made a comment, yeah, it's kind of over at that point. Well, crap. And frankly, if anything, that makes this prediction markets decision to pivot into sports betting all the more smart, because if all the alpha or all the pricing inefficiencies get taken out of other markets, then genuinely, like, all that's left is the sports things, right? Because just from the most simplistic viewpoint of, well, what do other people do, right? You can see, right, how sophisticated sports are today, right? With existing sportsbook operators, or the fact that we know that Susquehanna and other prop shops or sophisticated quants run stuff, have little sports betting operations. Now I heard a rumor. Now it's a shame on me. I forget if the guy said the prediction markets or the sports betting. But I think I heard a guy say that he thinks that, or he heard that Susquehanna loses money on the sports betting operation they do, which is interesting. Interesting data point. Not sure if I can make the most of a conclusion from that. For example, there's probably a lot of build out. There's probably a lot of data costs that are not duplicative of your traditional financial data costs. So that's not bizarre. But I was not sure what to make of it, per se. Now, quick aside, part of the goal of doing these talks is A, it tickles my fancy. B, I'd be walking around anyway at roughly these hours. C, it is true journalistic practices that are going on. So frankly, it really just checks all the boxes when you think about it. So, and the other thing that is kind of implicit and it's kind of embarrassing is just improving speaking cadence, improving tempo. It's a bit annoying to stumble over words at times. So it's nice to do little exposure therapy. And at the end of the day, it is truly all vanity. As I literally wear a knockoff tracksuit or tracksuit jacket. What do you call it? Yeah. Look at hair's got some texture today. Okay. So that's prediction market stuff. Prediction markets are kind of cooked, but it won't stop me. Or the insurance part will still be true, because some things are about hedging, and that use case is still there. And if you're the operator, as long as you get the transaction fees, you're good. So in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't matter as much per se. But if regular Joe Schmo, then yeah, I agree. We are kind of cooked. Very unfortunately so. Or maybe, again, but like the guy I was talking to is fairly credible in this space, so I do take him seriously. All right, I take him more seriously than I would some rando tech Twitter guys about Korean scientists making a massive breakthrough. Look at that. Every part of DC, all of the nice parts of DC have large estates. There's a message in that somewhere. I will withhold my vaguely leftist interpretation of the critiques. I think last time I mentioned the show The Great, and the male gaze being the primary reason why I humored the show for 3 episodes. But something I forgot to mention is it is actually a very Godot-like show, existential show, where, of course, there's the famous play by this fellow named Beckett called Waiting for Godot, which is just effectively this absurdism with like the same repeating dialogue patterns, and like the premise is quite frankly like waiting for Godot, you know? We're not inventing things over here. But I found it quite charming. So in part as high school AP literature, you know, as I said before, right? In the more advanced classes, there tends to be more girls than guys. I don't know. Yes, I will wait for you. If that's what you're telling me to do, I shall. Oh, can you walk in this? It's probably, closed, you know. as much as I like breaking the rules, wink wink, I will respect opening hours. But yeah, back on the Godot. Like, yes, cute girl. Yes, I will wait. I will happily wait in this wonderfully charming existentialist play. So that's the premise of it, of the show, right? Jolly good show. Or again, right? The premise of the show is it just needs some 18th century women figure to show some like limitations, but then use Catherine the Great as the context to let her be the agent. So again, right? The actual Catherine the Great in Russia is in modernization or westernization is literally nothing but a pretext for the very modern and western point, if you want to take it that way, like women empowerment. I think the bigger thing, is it really is just a very good like show, and you see the same bits of huzzah or truly it's like, yeah, that seems very Godot like. Right there, like the absurdity of it, the loops, the constant loops. Not to sound like some edgy teenager, because I suppose I've grown out of that, or aged out of that at this point. Although my TikTok suggests otherwise, given I'm still fairly plugged in to countercultural youth trends, but Bad a Great is yeah, it's a charming show, and yes, Elle Fanning does a good job. I think. Yeah, honestly, yeah. So I do suppose if I use the cerebral part of my brain, I would appreciate the show much more and derive much more enjoyment out of it. Unfortunately, on weekends, I tend to like to use that side of my brain less, except for my regular security analysis, to find my next things that will underperform a passive basket of 3 bips. And in that case, well, I suppose Elle Fanning will just have to do. And what does Godot know anyway, right? Because the joke is, right? Godot knows nothing. And that is why Godot is still waiting. Because he knows nothing. And there's a TikTok joke in that. Dom the troll. I have nothing. I've made a joke before in a previous video. Can't recall which part of DC I was walking around, but it's a fun thought experiment. Actually, I know the walk was somewhere, actually pretty close to here. It was down the back street by the embassies, right? Because we made a comment that like the Bangladesh or Moroccan embassy is pretty cool, and we were walking down that little wood hill area. And it's always fun to think about the comment. Well, what traits would your theoretical girlfriend, again, I could make it gender neutral, but that's not really my mojo. I speak for an audience of one, and I shall continue to live life proudly. No way. Maybe today we'll have a nice sunset or sunrise. The other day, the sunrise was actually very pretty. You know, I'm very happy on the rare occasions to take in and appreciate the small moments, fleeting as it may, as I quickly walk to the subway. I guess that is what life is about, right? the fleeting moments. Or I do suppose more so the fleeting moments that cause nostalgia, and then reminiscing on said nostalgia, and then hopefully that nostalgia motivates you to create more nostalgic moments, and on it goes in a nice self-perpetuating loop of joy and hopefulness. Yeah, imagine back in the day, you come here and just see a bunch of stars up top. Like truly, like you think about when some of those cathedrals were made back in the day. It's like the grandeur of it. You can kind of imagine, like if you're just some peasant bro, like you can kind of get, you can see the aura, the power, the pull of the church at that point. So it is fun, right? It's like, well, if I was around back then, I wouldn't beat a sheep. It's like, well, I suppose the one thing life has taught me is to have more humility. Although try as I might, I still viciously try to prevent that. Again, dude, look at this tracksuit though. It is so pretentious. Like, you've got the Adidas 3 stripes. You got the nice, tasteful aroma, Wolf said. You've got Toyota. I don't think it's overly overbearing. It is bearing, but not overly so. I don't know, dude. It is literally aura. I made a comment before it. I do say it a lot. I made the comment before. Because I expect you, the audience, aka myself, to remember the antics I get up to. Because someone has to. And it may as well be me. But that train of thought has escaped me. Well, it shall truly come back at some point. Now we begin our trek. We'll probably walk by the vice president's residency, which is the last time I walked by it was actually very locked down, like a very like the same type of security presence as you would see at the White House in that little complex. This is a bit annoying. So it discourages me from walking by that part of the street. What we're supposed to go today is just walk along the backside of this part and then take, it's not Connecticut, but whatever street, to noodle down into Georgetown. We'll walk by Scott Besson's place again, because Scotty Boys is surely, is working very hard dealing with a trade mess that Lutnick appears to have caused. Or maybe Besson's in on it. Either way, he's a hard-working man, and that's why he gets 4 SUVs, while J. Powell, Jerome, only gets 2. Yep. If I was more adventurous, more bold, we could do Lutnick's house, actually. His house is not in the main part of Georgetown, but it's slightly detached, like a back part, and that would be a bit much. As much as I have come to dislike eating food, I still have an appetite. Like, I still feel hungry, but I don't derive joy from eating food these days. It is much more of a heartless task I must endure upon to maintain the sanctity of my 5'7", 5'6", more likely, frame. It's like, huh, how quickly I can learn to, I can see the perspective of is it dysmorphia the term? Yeah, how quickly I can learn to see another perspective in life. Okay, so a quick thing, on this walk we were seeing two people. One guy right back in that residential part, and then that girl by the cathedral. So we were two people in on a Saturday. On eating, like it's not like a body image thing per se. I mean, maybe I would like to lose some weight, but being honest, it's kind of like you can't really A/B test, right? Like your ability, like you can't really A/B test what's stopping you from being more successful dating wise, right? Like you only conceptually get to ask that girl out once, you know? And it's kind of hard to say, was it what happened for that day? Did every guy ask her out and annoy her? Is it your look? Is it because it's a Sunday and, you know, she's not working on a Sunday in that sense? You know? So I suppose the point is that it's all variance, but ideally variance works more in your favor over time, or more so, it works more in your favor the larger your sample size gets, right? Because you just have more data points. Yeah, I think that's the correct metaphor. I suppose technically not, because I guess like if you're a stock portfolio, you want fewer data points because that way like you'll have the more outsized outcomes because of law of large numbers and concentration. But it was when dating, when it's logarithmic, where it's capped at 0, right? Dating, the worst thing that could happen, well, is saying no, or getting pepper sprayed or mace, right? So like that is the worst thing that can happen, and you can bound that at 0, right? Because as a guy, you've probably experienced much worse, much greater pain and suffering in your existence, because you're a guy and such is expected. Not to chat about manosphere discourse, but you could make the argument, right, that male gender standards is still based on old gender standards, right? Like being competent, being assertive, being successful. And there isn't more flexibility on the part of males as much as there is for gals, or at least at the top echelons. But I suppose the same top echelons, the same rules apply, right? Like you know what the top standard is, and then the goal is to just optimize to get there. I suppose in that sense, gender positivity is for the masses, while top tier gender roles are for the pros, I suppose, is the takeaway of this story. Which, you know, as long as we're honest about it. But now something I like doing, right, Google Photos, it has a heat map of where you've taken photos, and I like filling in the map. I shouldn't say I do it like on every street, but I just like having the map be filled in. The issue with these early morning walks is the perfect time, because it's a great way to wake up groggily and wake yourself up on the subway, maybe see a cute girl, and just feel that instant pinch of misery in one's existence. Like, that is perfectly valid in my view. And frankly, one of my favorite emotions that I can easily access on a relatively consistent basis. Now, frankly, it doesn't happen much on weekdays. Because on weekdays on the subway, during rush hour, it tends to overwhelmingly be a bunch of middle-aged like guys who work in the government. That is just not a that does not cause the pinch of disappointment. If anything, it makes me very appreciative that of my youth, the youth that I am relatively squandering, as you can see by the fact that I'm not in bed right now. But before I continue with the metaphor and go down a route that can be clipped and reflects poorly upon my character, we will keep on walking. Now a fun little thought experiment I've toyed with is I do enjoy. Alright, I shouldn't say this, but let me provide context. I haven't drunk a lot. I don't drink for fun on my own. In large part because I don't see where the fun is in that. But feeling drunk, I'm sure drunk, again, it just shows how little I know. I don't know if drunk is like the actual word, but feeling slightly inebriated, where you can feel like there's something on your brain, like your head feels slightly different. I don't know, like that, like in the sense that is a different feeling. That is interesting to me. And it's certainly for that. And then you can feel like your cheeks get a bit flushed. Like, I don't know. I mean, liquid courage is fleeting, but that doesn't mean it's not a useful type of courage. So it is a context where like the feeling of being slightly buzzed. Again, I don't know if buzzed is the right word or if drunk is the right word. Generally, is that like a I suppose it is all subjective as to which category you bucket it into. And again, like the consumption of alcohol is not because of the taste. I find that the taste of alcohol to be, if not distasteful, not something I would yearn for. The same way I might yearn for a glass of grape juice, right? Because then I could pretend the grape juice is wine, and that way I get my kicks indirectly in a vain and pretentious way. Because whatever way can you do so? Yeah, but I would not yearn for alcohol for enjoyment. But I do like the feeling it gives. But the hook comes. Alcohol, the market cunningly realizes that people can enjoy alcohol for various reasons. And I imagine I'm not that unique, much to my chagrin. And so others appreciate alcohol for the same reasons I do. I think other people enjoy alcohol for more reasons than how I enjoy it, but we can only be so bold in a 23-year-old diminutive body. There's only so many heights we can push. But the hook comes, well, it costs money to get alcohol. And as we've established, to be clear, right, I am not maybe I'm a spiritual alcoholic in the sense that I will double down on a vice. Or I have backup vices. If life ever goes horribly and starts taking a miserable turn, I've got some backup plans. I've got Zen. Okay. We have walked too far. Gosh. Do we want to be bold? So we walked all the way out here, right? From National Cathedral, right? From Cleveland Park. Town Library. I was there yesterday after work, or for work. It's a very small library. I accidentally sat in the teenager section. My bad. Yeah, and then there's homeless, which, you know, again, it's a public space, but it does reduce, as I've said, right, the surplus. So we're here. Do I want to go forward and double back? That would make the walk a bit longer. And it might be raining today. If I was truly bold, I would go for it. Yeah. Screw it. I'm walking forward. This will be longer. The things I want to do today, I can do later. I started watching less soccer. Not that I've fallen out of love with it, but you do see the same build-up patterns, and it's like, yeah, I need something to rekindle the passion. So we'll see. Frankly, what I should be doing, I should really, I generally need to do like on like Saturday, Sunday, I need to do like 2-hour shifts on Hinge and just literally just like decisively. Because again, like if you're not in that top echelon of guy, then you just kind of really need to try and by try, I mean think of a question or some reasonably decent response and just send it out. So that's what I've like. Oh my gosh, dude, the hit rate, or the response rate, miserably. But everything is like, I'm 90% sure like my profile is just not populating, which is fair. Again, if I was the omniscient Hinge algo, the algorithm, the lines of code that dictate existence, I wouldn't want me in a profile. The same way I'll look at myself, like it is very strange. Like on some days, I look at myself in the mirror, I'm passive, like clearly I get enough feedback, like, you know, it's like, like I can tolerate my existence, you know. I don't feel miserable about it. On other days, however, I'll look at myself, and I will genuinely feel some self-disgust, like, which is so weird because it's the same face every day. It's not like I'm getting new acne per se. It's not like if I have like a pimple that's like that pops up, that's the reason that causes. That's not what I fixate on. I think it's truly the perception of myself in that moment in time, which is bizarre, and I can't really tell why per se, because it's not like my daily, or it's not like after I had a somewhat disappointing I guess coffee chat / date. It's not like I felt self-loathing at that point. If anything, I felt kinda tickled with myself. So it's not that, which is all, again, so I should keep more detailed notes about it, but I do. Again, like back to econ, it's not like a negative self-perception per se, but I know enough statistics to know what a base rate is. And I don't think my base rate is flattering me. For understandable reasons, right? Again, I don't. It would be very amusing. And frankly, that part of me wishes it was the case, because that would actually be truly hilarious. It would be so amusing if I was genuinely incredulous about my lack of dating success, and I really thought that I should be rolling in the deep. Like, that'd be so funny. They'd be like, as a 23-year-old guy, as being 23, you know, like, bro, what is going on? Why is it not working? Why are my charms not working? That'd be so good. Like, genuinely confused and living life every day of a sense of light entitlement and genuine, existentially confusing bewilderment at the predicament. Like, dog. It's like, bro, this is my left wing, bro. We are not the vanguard. It's like, dog, this is my revolution. Dog, this is my dating app feed. Dog, this is my perception of self. We're not making it, boys. We're not making it. But that's what I amuse myself with. As a secondary thought, I need to find my chapstick. Insert laugh track. Man, what? See what? Again, right? The duality of mind. Now, so today's walk, I'm going to ballpark it. It'll probably be an hour and a half. But the nice thing is, because we elongate it, at least when we walk by Scott Besson's place, it'll be like more bright. So maybe we can do some. Now, actually, the smart thing, if you actually want to meet the guy, you know he does make the rounds on Meet the Press and those classic DC politics Sunday shows. What is that? Oh, okay. So that's the Homeland Security complex. That's by American University. Huh. Yeah, so we really did walk a very roundabout way. But actually, it's okay, because we are wearing a Roma track jacket. Can't say it's a track suit. Given I'm just wearing some gray sweatpants I've had since high school. I have come to realize that some of the best clothes I wear, but again, not the best, because it's probably fairly shabby. It's not doing me any favors. It's not helping me out in the slightest. But you have nostalgia for it, you know. The same way, like, yeah, like you couldn't use social media at school, so you message girls using email. Like, I don't know. I have nostalgia for that. I may have forwarded myself some of those emails. I will say I've never looked at them since, but I know they are unread in that folder, in that nostalgia folder. I know they are unread. Every accusation is a confession, as they say. Oh my gosh, the gimbal is messed up. Reset. Good job. Sun's out. We're doing a longer walk today because life is for agency and doing things. I'm not sure if I'll ever be that nostalgic for these things. I suppose if I get hit by a car, I can't walk, I would be very nostalgic for these No, I suppose I could slightly replicate it in a wheelchair. I suppose DC is pretty ADA proof, ADA pilled, unlike other places that may exist. Gosh, I don't know, man. I do fear I'm not creating as many things that I will be nostalgic for. Like, that is something that can keep me up. Not keep me up, but it is something to think about. It is something to think about after 10 p.m. But as I like to say, just don't think about it, bro. Just like be busy doing something else. Be busy with work. Be busy with personal like work projects. You know, and therefore you'll never have the time to think about that stuff. And therefore it will all be fine. Yes, the class said in unison. It will all be okay. As there's the American University School of International Service, and famous last words have never been said other than, it will all be okay. It will all be okay, said the foreign policy schmuck. The Iraq War will all be okay. Like, well, who am I to disagree? Who am I to disagree? I would do a more comprehensive walk, but around American University, because I do think American University has a pretty nice campus. I would even argue it has a nicer campus than Georgetown, because Georgetown University's campus is actually kind of confusing to navigate because of how vertical and hilly it is. So you walk down the wrong set of stairs and you have no idea where, or it's very confusing. Whereas American University is a more classic university experience, which is, intuitive for 18-year-old brains to navigate. Again, the built environment matters, as it turns out. Again, never church. Wow, how did we get back to National Cathedral, eh? But, man. I don't know. The hair is not great. Or it's not something I need to do. But I guess back to what I said at the start of the video, like how to improve appearance, like something I've decided to. So I guess you can improve physical appearance, where there is an upper bound to what you can do. Or you can try to change things on the margin, like attire, like posture, which is not a something. But again, like Janan Ganesh said, right, at the end of the day, you can only optimize so much. And you can't not optimize being a scrub, right? So we are working with some limitations. But on the hair point, like on principle, I'm 90% sure longer hair is, or at least I prefer longer hair than shorter hair. In large part because in my head, crap. Oh my gosh, bro. We are, well, actually, I suppose in the sense that I am trying to fill in the map, I am doing a good job walking on routes. Let me fill in the map. However, if I want to do an American University area walk around, I will do a dedicated one, a separate day. So now we must break for Georgetown. It's now first light or whatever. Yes, but hair, So I'm not sure if the acne really comes through on camera. Horrible camera work right there. So I don't think the acne really comes through on camera.